Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I finally found an article that actually confirms something I was mentioning about a week or two, maybe three, um, in the war. So that would have been in March, beginning of March. And that was the idea that what I observed, it was the Russians' answers, economic answers, or counterattacks of the Western sanctions were too good to checkmate, um, that couldn't have just been thought of in the past 6 months or 2 months or at the moment. Therefore, I uh, assessed that they had these plans and all the answers to whatever scenario for a long time. Long time. The same with the special operation, so-called. They had these plans and the different options and different scenarios ready for a long time because they knew from their own statements that this is going to get to this if the Westerns, United States, will push with the Ukraine and militarizing Ukraine and bringing advisors and equipment and they were observing all that. It was like next door and the push for NATO expansion. So they were preparing for a long time when they saw they had no more illusions that the Westerns are Westerners. They say the collective West, but actually it's about 3 or 4 countries at the most, with the main one being United States and Great Britain to kind of the same extent. So now this guy's an expert comes with the idea that these guys might have been ready for some time. Well, if you paid attention to what the economic moves the Russian Federation took in the past, I don't know, 10, 15 years, you would realize that they were getting ready. They were getting ready for all this. They minimized their dependency on certain Western economic needs and all that. And it's a very good article. I mean, at least it gives you some points to think about. So this article comes from the Insider from June 18th today, 2022, and this is the title. It's no surprise Russia is weathering the West sanctions. Putin has been preparing for them for nearly a decade. You bet. I mean, you have an unreliable partner and then you know exactly what that person is going to do because you see a pattern. And if you make a deal, right, a deal is a deal. Remember that? A contract is a contract. Russia has been preparing for sanctions since 2014, at least, after it annexed Crimea. Moscow was already hit by a range of Western-led sanctions after the annexation. Since then, Russia has been protecting itself through a variety of measures. Economists have been predicting an implosion of President Vladimir Putin's economic regime since the West hit Russia with sweeping sanctions over its invasion of Ukraine. Those economists are below 86 IQs, making at least six-figure money. And you wonder how. It was too obvious, and these guys remember, oh, they're going to collapse in 24 hours, the ruble is going to be gone, they're gone, they're going to... And I said, no, do you think these guys are below 86? No, they're not below 86. And besides, they're Russians. And that's enough to say. It's not like, anyway, let's go. But 3.5 months into the war, Russia has been holding up, making profits, I might say, with Putin announcing on June 7th that inflation has slowed and unemployment has been steady. Not necessarily true, but you know what I'm talking. It helps that Russia is an energy powerhouse that still, oh, I thought they isolated Russia, no? They didn't work either. Also, they planned that too. Damn these Russians, the Ruskies, huh? So powerhouse that's all posting bumper sale revenues thanks to soaring oil prices. Why oil prices soar? Because you impose sanctions. Even without an energy windfall, energy could in the near term be buffered from sanctions. That's because the country has been sanction-proofing itself since 2014, when it was also hit with a raft of trade restrictions after it illegally annexed Crimea from Ukraine. How can you illegally annex a country that votes through a referendum to be annexed? How do you illegally do that? How do you illegally do that? All right, move on. Putin has refashioned the Russian economy into a fortress to weather external shocks. Of course, you get ready. These guys are as they are. Wrote Veronica Carrion, an economic researcher at American Bankers Association, in an ABA banking journal post in June 13. Oh, only in June 13? Well, I said this 3 months ago. Am I better than these economies now? No, because it was obvious, and I think they knew. But they did it nevertheless because some people had to make some profit. And it works. That's not the goal of Ukraine, if you want to look at it that way. It's the goal of destroying somehow Russia. As the Russians said many times, the goal is not Ukraine. Ukraine is just a proxy that they are using to destroy us because we are too strong. That's exactly what happens. Too strong and don't follow orders. Some experts have cast doubts on the reliability of Russian statistics since the start of the war. The Russian government obviously has an incentive to try to hide the economic impact of Western sanctions. True, said Andrew Lotion, a fellow in the Europe, Russia, and Eurasia program at the Center of Strategic and International Studies. Man, he's got a paragraph of the institution where this guy is the big shot, huh? A fellow, oh my God, to the Europe, Russia, and the Eurasia program at the Center of Strategic and International Studies. Got out of breath. Jesus, he must know what he's talking about, right? Even if the economy is holding up as well as it appears, excuse me, Russia could still eventually run out of time when the commodities rally stall and at the West intensifying sanctions gnaw their way through the system. But for now, the country is showing unexpected resilience from a range measures such as padding up its reserves and wearing off foreign capital. Here's what Russia has been doing in attempts to sanction-proof its economy. Now, this is important. Moscow has been padding up reserves and stashing up gold. Gold, yes. Before the invasion, Russia held the world's fifth largest foreign currency and gold reserve pile worth about $630 billion, $630 billion, according to the Bank of blah, blah, blah. This stockpile can cover the government's balance sheet and support the ruble, wrote this guy. Russia has lost access to about half of that amount due to the sanctions the country's finance, blah, 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 said. But that's still lots of physical gold stashed up in the country, which is also the world's second largest producer of the precious metal. There you have it. So Russia's gold holding have tripled since 2014, as they are stored in vaults at home, according to the central bank, not London and other areas. There are some over there too. The U.S. has sanctioned Russian transactions using gold, but that wouldn't stop opportunistic countries from doing business with Moscow, wrote this guy or this girl. So in April and June, it added $12.7 billion to its emergency reserves. These funds will be used to ensure stable economic development amid sanctions. This was the first one. So gold and reserves. And the second one is Russia has been wearing itself off foreign capital and paying down debt. So depending less on those guys over there and paying its debt. Beyond saving up, Russia has been wearing itself off foreign capital by aggressively paying down debt over the last 8 years. And this person says, Gian Maria Milesi Ferretti, and now, ready? A senior economic studies fellow at the Hutchings Center on Fiscal and Monetary Policy. Woo! Another big shot. And he says here, and this is true, and I am that too. Vladimir Putin is allergic to borrowing money. Yeah, you should be, but if you do that, capitalism falls in his nose. You know, it's a consumption economy. What are you going to do? If you don't borrow and you don't spend, the capitalism is bye-bye. I mean, not that kind of capitalism. Capitalism is good, but you know what I'm talking about. And it gets to that point where it's turning into a socialism because it can't be sustainable. Karl Marx, right? Do we agree with that? Not really, but we're about to see. All right, Russian foreign debts are pretty low. The government owed about 39 billion in foreign currency bonds bonds at the end of 2021. JP Morgan estimated. In comparison, Greece defaulted on 205 billion euros. So Russia has 39 billion in foreign owned about 39 billion, and Greece defaulted in 205 billion euros. There's 277 billion dollars in sovereign debt in 2012. As for Russia's overall national debt, is just at 17% of GDP. How much is the United States? Do you know? Ha ha! Do you know? How much is Germany's, France's? Oh my God, these are in debt right here, right here. It says the biggest problem Russia now has is paying its foreign debt because of restrictions. So they just destroy the means, not the money. They have everything, but and nevertheless. Oh, we got here something. It says that I lost this one. So the country doesn't really need to borrow, wrote this guy. I'm not gonna his title. The U.S. You wanna know? You know the U.S. national debt? Of course you do. It's 130% of GDP. So Russia's is 13%. It's like you and your family. Your income is $100,000 and your debt is $130,000. I say okay, but what about your income is $100,000 and your debt is 17%, $17,000. How about that? How would you like that? I would like it a lot if it's about percent. So 17% of the GDP for Russia, 130% of the GDP for the United States. We're doing great. And then it says here, Russia, the third reason, Russia is turning inwards to economic self-sufficiency. I think that's self-explanatory, right? Instead of buying from outside, they try to make their self-sufficiency from within. And it says Russia's economy is expected to shrink 8.5% in 2022 with a further decline of 2.3% in 2023. The Monetary Fund reported that would be the economy's largest decline since the years following the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991. So yes, these guys were ready, not only economically, they were ready politically with their connections. They got China ready, partners, in crime. They got militarily ready. They got all this, that was already planned for a long time. They said, in case these guys are not cooperating with us, then this is plan C, D, E, F, and G, and so on. So yeah, it's not but I'm glad these guys at least laid it down for us so we can use it. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just. 17% of the GDP versus 130% of the GDP. Oh my God. I knew it was above, but nevertheless. Thank you. See you later, guys.